It's gonna be a good one.
It's gonna be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son.
Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stone face, a hit by pitch. Oh my goodness.
Welcome everybody to the first summer episode in studio of the Hitting Zone podcast. It's been a while since we've been in the building. We've had a lot of things going on this summer with Brett Graves and the Premier College Development League that we've had going on. Legion Baseball celebrating 100 years. So we have been busy, and so we have not had all the time in the world to do our podcast. But we are back in the building. We're going to be off next week for vacation, but we will be back to the regular scheduled times that we've been doing our podcast. And the Hitting Zone podcast is where we bring up baseball topics and we crush those topics. And I'm excited about this one because I'm been following this gentleman on the screen for a while now since COVID. It started with the PVC drills that he had for us. And it's kind of led into a relationship where I feel like this guy's a friend. We communicate a lot. We communicate on, engage on each other's content, which has been a blast to be a part of. And so appreciate Prime Sports Midwest for sponsoring and Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Without further ado, Josh Cathcart, Hitting Done Right. Houston, Texas, right? Or in the Houston area?
Yeah, just southeast Pearland to be official, but yeah, Houston. Nobody knows where Pearland is.
Nope, never even heard of it. I've heard of Paracord, not Pearland.
Yeah.
Before we get started, I have to ask this. I know you got excited about getting Carlos Correa back. It was probably a big move, I guess, with some of the injuries that you have going on down there. Is Jordan back yet, or is he still on the mend?
No, the Astros and their injuries and how they report them is just so frustrating. But no, he's supposed to I think he's actually in a rehab assignment tonight.
I got you. We are in the same situation here with a couple of our guys. It took 2 weeks for them to put Brendan Donovan on the IL, and we went through the weekend against the Yankees with very limited bench when we could have used some guys. And it just baffles me with how management handles things, but they make way more money than I do, so they know their team way better. Actually, I don't know if you know this or not. One of our local guys who's been on this show, and Justin Dearden, he was a former farmhand for Houston, was pretty close getting a call up to the Astros, but Marsnick might have been the guy in front of him, got the called up, or however you say his last name. But Justin was from Southeast Missouri and spent some time with the Space Cowboys down there.
That's funny. It's Jake Marisnick. But that's the only reason that I'm smiling when I say that is my mom's ultimate Astros crush. She thought Jake Marisnick was the most gorgeous human to ever grace the planet.
Even over JJ Redick? I thought JJ Redick was the guy, or whatever his name is.
Not for my mom, dude. She was a Maresnick lady through and through.
That's awesome. That's hilarious. I guess everybody's got. I'm not gonna lie. This may be weird or not, but I love The Rock, as in Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I have no problems.
He's yours, huh?
It's my man crush. If I have to, I mean, I know that's whatever, but I'm not gonna go make out with the guy. But that is for whatever reason. I love everything about him, like the way that he, works with the community and stuff like that. And I just, the people's elbow, it's so plain. I think that's what drew me to Hulk Hogan as a youngster was everything he did was
a leg drop.
Yep. Elbow drop for, the people's elbow. But yeah, sorry. I'm sure the guy behind the screen over there we love to talk about wrestling, but another random question. What do you think about those toe shoes? Those barefoot toe shoes.
Yeah, I've seen them. I haven't tried them. It's kind of weird, but hey, man, to each their own. Just like with anything else.
All right, you ready for this?
Do you have them on? Oh, you got them on.
Look at this.
Oh, looky there.
This show is definitely not about baseball. Dude, they have literally helped my back and my hips out. I thought, whatever, man. I got them on sale for like $35. They're better than sandals. Believe it or not, they help me stay grounded, like, and feel. So I started hitting in them, and I'm like, I can really feel the ground. So it's going to connect back to hitting. But I started training with them, and I'm like, man, I can really feel my feet. It
That's
allows
awesome.
my toes to relax, stuff like that,
Yeah.
instead of being here because you can't
Hmm.
really feel. And I'm like, dude, I should be an ambassador maybe, but I look corny in
Where did you
these
get them?
teals. Barefoot.com. I think
Okay.
it's like a UK store or something like that. I know that they have them in
Uh-huh.
shops here, but I found these on clearance and tried to give it a whirl. Um, for whatever it's worth, if you want to try them out, they're like they feel like a creek shoe, like if you were to get in a creek, and kind of walk
Hmm.
with water shoes. Super lightweight, they air out real well. But I again going back to hitting, I feel my feet. And
Yeah.
if you roll on one side, if you load too much or you stride too far and you end up out on your front foot, you literally slip out of your shoe.
Did you
And
see the post I did yesterday on the back knee with that kid? Where he was like rocking and leaking, and he would literally get like on the side of his foot and then like jump back to get to the inside.
I didn't see that one. I think I was watching. I didn't spend too much time on social media yesterday, at least for scrolling through folks that I like to watch.
Yeah.
The one I did see, I saw a guy trying to use a rubber band or a band behind his knee to try to keep him to load in his hip and maintain
Hmm.
versus that knee pulling him, which I love. I love goofy stuff. I think we talked about this plenty of times where like the Japanese athletes, like the goofy things that they do and we all laugh at. And I'm like, you guys have no
Hmm.
idea what it's like for motor preferences and what it's trying to actually teach. Um, and so I like getting a little weird in the instruction when it comes to movement patterns. And again, like I didn't buy these because I wanted to teach a kid how to hit. I wanted to buy them because
Yeah.
I was told it helps my hips out, my knees, and it has because it's almost realigning the way that I walk instead of forcing me into position. And then I hit with them, right? And then I lifted with them and doing my deadlifts or things like that. I can really feel my feet push through the dirt. But anyways, random thoughts of the day. But yeah, teal,
Sweet. That's all right.
but it works, right? And I think that's at the end of the day, when you think about like the PVC stuff, I bet you got laughed at when you first started doing it, and then all of a sudden, that's all you see on the internet is PVC stuff, right?
I get laughed at for a lot of stuff I did first, and now people are doing it all over the internet.
5 years later, you missed the boat,
Yeah.
man. You should have followed you on YouTube a long time ago.
Shoot,
Uh,
man. Now at this point, that's almost 7 years now.
really?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
From the old like 2018 is when I started my first online business, and then that one I had to split with my business partner in 2022, and so I've only like hit and done right's only been 3 years,
Oh, I got you. So
not even 3 years.
everything else was more about just your name, just a personal brand. Like, well, I guess both of them
Yeah,
are,
it was
but
well, yeah. I mean, early on it was baseball doctor. And that was the first one. And then me and my business partners had to go separate ways with that. Like late 2021, I started hitting done right, like mid 2022. And so here we are.
yeah,
But
always.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff, man. And there, early on, I was a little bit upset, a little bit annoyed, whatever it was, with people just basically ripping off my verbiage, my drills, everything. But then as the online like world grew and just it's gotten so many, everybody's a hitting coach these days. Um, Now it's just like everybody's taking everybody's stuff, so it's not that big a deal. But yeah, there's some like phrases, and we can kind of talk about it when we talk about HLP here in a minute. But there's phrases and cues that I used online early on that I had never heard from any other coach, and now I see it, 3 or 4 times a day on different coaches
Do
stuff.
you
It's like, oh, replace the elbow. Oh, like hold the box. Oh, like there's just
do you think that because social media is such a big part of our lives right now that maybe that's why you hear it more? Because I was doing the double trampoline stuff. 5 years ago, I saw it, in a Japanese hitting drill, and now you see it kind of all over. So it's kind of just spread. That wasn't original things to me. I don't know that how much is original anymore, anyways. But do you think that social media has kind of given you that kind of broad scope now on the hitting game? Is just like, well, actually, there is more people that maybe think like me. I just didn't know that. Or do you think that it's just somebody watched you and was like, I'll take what you're doing? Because you see that with like things like Driveline, right? Like everybody creates their own Driveline, their own pitching program. They go to it and then they make it their own. If they go to Tread, they end up making it their own thing and calling it their own brand. I'm not talking
I
things like
think that
that.
yeah, I think there is some of that. I don't ever want to just say, "Hey, I'm the first person to ever do this or say this," because that may not be true. But when I started in 2018 online, there were only about 10 like legit hitting coaches online. It was, Matt Antonelli, Teacher Man. There was a guy named Ron Sullivan. You had John at Yugo Sports. You had me coming up, and then there were some others like smaller like people, but that was really it. If you're talking about like big followings, like at one point before a bunch of these young guys, like after COVID, at one point there was only about 10 of us. And some of the cues that I say a lot, I just came up with, I had never heard before. It's not like I heard it from my high school coach or online. I was just in the cage. I saw something and I said, "Oh, my brain says this. Try this." Like one of mine that was first was replacing the front elbow. Like when you're thinking about knob direction from launch, replace the front elbow with the knob, and that gets you into a really good position instead of dropping it or raising it or whatever. Just replace. And that's just one of one example. I have a bunch of stuff for like syncing up the backside, like knob and knee, thinking about the knob and the back knee working at the same time in sync. Back hip and elbow. As the hip goes, it pulls the elbow into the slot. So, just cues like that that I had never heard. I said I put out, and now 2, 3, 4 years later, as I'm scrolling, I'm seeing other coaches saying those exact same things. Now, whether they got it from me, whether they got it from somebody that saw one of my videos, I don't know. But it is interesting, how that stuff goes. But my mom at one point was like, I know it may feel like people are stealing your stuff, but you need to look at it in terms of they really like your stuff. And so they're using it with their hitters. And that was a big help. Like that helped me like scroll through and be like, somebody's been watching me. That's awesome. Instead of, damn, he just stole my stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I,
so
I
it's been a learning curve.
Yeah, I bet. Because I even like, when I think about the knob replacing the elbow, because I actually have used that. And so I have taken stuff that you have said, because when I tried to relay that message, it doesn't sound as simple. So if I'm trying to have, because I coach you, when you coach a certain level for so long and you try to come back down to like the 10, 11 year olds, it becomes difficult. At least it has been for me, for as far as verbiage goes, right? So when I think about stuff like that, that's a simple move. Well, when I'm talking to a college kid, I might be having a completely different conversation. And so I liked it because it was a simple cue, right? And I was like, yep, I'm stealing that. And I had no problems with telling you I'm taking this. because it's on the internet, right? And I do, like, I will look at something that you do and something that you'll say. This is why I like to want to work with you. In our camp coming up, it's because of the simplicity of what you're saying, and there's so much complication in today's uh, online coaching, or what we see on the internet, and what we see our athletes trying to do. We talked about it a little bit with the HLP stuff, and then the high level moves, and is it for everybody? And when I think about just stuff you talk about, it's super simple that everybody can relate to, because at the end of the day, we have to get from point A to point B. Whether I have a leg kick, or I'm a no stride, I'm a two strike approach, I'm open stance, close stance, it's all relative. Where like HLP, maybe not, because I can't move like that. And I had to be more direct versus trying to really kind of swing kind of behind my shoulder or whatever. Like some people
Mm-hmm.
perceive it to be back here. I don't perceive the information that way. I know that it looks like it because they train that way. That's not the moves that these athletes are making. So I can
Yeah.
decipher that piece, and I get frustrated as a hitting guy looking at some of these young coaches and taking stuff like that. And it's for every 9-year-old kid and every 18-year-old kid they have. It is literally the entire programming. And how do you
Yeah.
feel about like that kind of stuff?
I have gone on record always in saying that if you are only teaching one method to everybody that walks in the door, I personally have an issue with that. Now, if you are good with, hey, I'm going to have 20 kids walk in the door, I'm going to teach them all the same thing. And if, 12 of those, if 15 of those pan out, then I'm good. Forget the others. Maybe they don't get it, whatever it is. Um, I do not claim to be an expert in HLP, but I do claim to have studied it as closely as humanly possible without diving all the way in. I have talked to HLP instructors and asked them, how did you get into this? How does it start? And I have players that are much more HLP oriented. Um, I don't think that you necessarily have to dive all in. I've also gone on record on different podcasts and different lives and whatnot saying for most hitters, if you were to ask my honest opinion for most hitters, the best swings and the most consistent swings are a combination of the HLP loading style, the coil and stretch, with a more direct or even lead side connection. Um, and so it's not that I go and I try to force everybody on that, but I'm big on the motor preferences. When kids first come in, we go through a warm up for stability. I love the water bags to see how kids are really moving, how their balance is. Are they staying more back and rotational? Are they getting more front side and linear? Things like that, and then mixing and matching. Um, I said it on my post the other day. You can't deny that HLP works for people. Like at this point, there's too many athletes at every single level. There are professional athletes, and yes, it's more than just Aaron Judge and Kerry Carpenter. There are a lot more professionals that are using this than people realize. There are a lot more college programs, not just players, but full programs that implement that. Now, with that being said, I have also worked with, I'm not going to say a lot, but my fair share of college players who have gone into programs that are exclusively teaching HLP, and it screwed them up. They've come back to me. I've had to quote unquote fix them, and then they transfer because that's the only method that school's teaching. And you went from a, first team all state in high school when you recruited to hitting 200 because they tried to revamp you. So there's pros and cons each way, man. Again, like I said in my post, if you are a player or a parent, if you're, and when I say player, I mean somebody old enough in high school that you're looking on social media for information, or a parent trying to help, if you're trying to piece HLP together that way, that's a tough gig. And that causes a lot of problems. If you go to one of the guys that really knows what they're doing, they, you know, there are some, there are 3 or 4 online that even though we may not personally get along, when I see their stuff, I'm like, that's legit. Like, I understand how, your kids are getting better. The instruction's clear. So it really is. It's all about experimentation and finding what works. But, the bashing that it gets online from people, oh, this is stupid. That's never worked. That's not what those guys are doing. Like, that's just noise, man.
One of my favorites is to watch Teacher Man and uh, Jeff Fry, maybe, or whoever it is. The way that they go back and forth, She Gone Nation or whatever, like that was created from the nonsense. And Richard's actually in our backyard, so
Yeah.
his facility is maybe like 5 minutes from here. He had a billiards company before, and most
Yep.
people know kind of the story of Teacher Man. He owned Teacher Billiards here, but the thing that what I take from some of the things that he does is like I think about the down pitch, the ball down in the zone. I think it's a great feel, great mechanic, and when I watch my videos of hitting the ball down, that's exactly what I end up being able to do. I don't know if that's velocity or perception, velo perception, and where ball down's a little bit slower in my mind. But there's things that I do when I go back and watch my swings, and I'm like, I have a little bit of that, but I have a lot of linear stuff too. And I'm like, well, how do you? So I go back to thinking about something that hit me pretty strong. And this was recent, trying to learn more about motor preference stuff or whatever you want to call it today. It's obviously been around for a long time. There was a decathlete that came into the facility. We had a very big softball tournament out here. He's got 2 daughters going to the University of Oklahoma. So you know what kind of time that
Oh,
they've
okay.
yeah. So
All
you know
right.
what kind of time they put in. So this dude's a decathlete, right? So back in whatever the 2 Olympians, Dave and Dave, or whatever you remember the big commercials like Nike did and
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
whatever their names were, but this is an elite level guy. Like, and he goes, keep it simple. He said, take center mass and keep it on your back toe. That's all he said to me. All of a sudden I said that to somebody else, and then I said it to myself, and I went through my pitching mechanics, and I was like, just keep my center mass over my big toe. He didn't say anything else. I'm sure there's more to this, right? And all of a sudden I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm getting into that separation, and I'm feeling the hip shoulder stuff, and I'm like, all I did was keep my center mass over back foot. It kept my hip loaded. Then I got into the hitting side, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm standing here just like Aaron Judge does or Kerry Carpenter. So there's some value to it. But
Oh,
if I struggle with things, I almost go to a no stride and I just kind of take bat to ball. And then once I start to feeling good, then I realize, and I go back and watch my swings, and I'm like, man, look at my coil. My center mass over backside stayed there the whole time. I didn't stride 3 feet with my front foot and get out of sequence, or change my sequencing, or I can't, my adjustability is not there anymore because I'm moving that far forward. I'm literally picking it up, holding it, and setting it down. That's my load and stride. And I'm ripping
yeah.
baseballs pretty, far or hard or whatever the case may be. I just don't like how many people look at that and go, I need to do this. And you see all this movements because if you see all of his drill work, that's what he does. And so people take the drill work and think that's the swing, and it's not. And so I feel like that's I feel like that's always been there, right? You look at Barry Bonds, that's kind of how he started and what he refers himself to. I go back and think about guys like your Ted Williams, your Stan Musial's obviously a great hitter here. Albert Pujols. You ever hear him talk? He's like, swing down, be direct, whatever. But he takes a
Hmm.
swing and it's not that, and
Yeah.
it's like, it's just whatever works for that athlete. And I think that's what I love about
Well,
watching you.
I appreciate that. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just have an Albert Pujols thought. Those guys, and this is what I tell like the the players that come in or the parents that come in and say basically the same thing is, well, why do the pros talk about chopping down, keeping the barrel above? And I have to explain to them and show them when those pros are talking about that, they are strictly talking about what they are thinking with their hands. They don't have to worry about their body. Their body is going to do what it's supposed to do. And so they always leave out posture and tilt. Always. It's always keep the barrel above my hands, go down. Well, if I get my posture set and I go to tilt and I'm swinging down, all of it comes together. And that it's kind of the same thing. When you see Teacher Man or the HLP guys talk about the snap backwards, they are showing, think about it this way. This is one option. This is another feel. Neither one of those usually tells you about the posture and the tilt. Now, I understand that Teacher Man talks about pelvic tilt and all of that, but that's where the breakdowns come, because there are very few that put it all together. The guy from Optimal Power Performance, AJ Arroyo, he does a really good job of putting it all together. Like in his videos, he'll talk about one of the independent moves, but he usually brings it all full circle. And that's one of the things that I try to do with mine is we can have this thought. This can be your thought. If you need to think pull with the lead arm, if you need to think, top hand dominant, if you need to think squish the bug, if you need to think release, whatever it is, let's really understand how we put that all together and when I would use certain drills or certain cues with certain players. If I got some kid that's spinning on his back foot and falling back, I'm not about to use any HLP down the back, lean back stuff. We're going to talk about front arm, pull, and direction. If I've got a kid that's really lunging out and getting front side out over their front toe, now we go back, and I say it a lot. I've never heard center mass over big toe, but I say chest over back knee. It's basically the exact same thing. And so, man, that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes the world go round. I just wish that people would have a little bit more of an open mind about being able to mesh the ideas. But I also get it's a business, it's a brand, it's a whatever. But at the end of the day, I say it all. I'm a common sense guy. And if HLP were the end all be all and it was the way to swing, every major league hitter would do it. And they simply don't. You've got the Alex Bregmans of the world. You've got the Jose Altuves of the world that are, lead arm dominant. Alex Bregman is very anti-rotational. I just use them because Bregman's not an Astro anymore, but, Rooker right now, probably one of my favorite swings. Miguel Cabrera, my favorite swing of all time. There are elements, like you said, the barrel working back is a non-negotiable. And now, how that happens, totally individual. If we're a snap it back as I turn, great. If you're a lay it back as you turn, like a Manny Machado or a Fernando Tatis, that's fine. The barrel has to work to the back shoulder. We have to be connected, and you have to have good direction. How you get there, if you get there on time, I don't care what you think. Yeah. Snap it, drop it, slot it, whatever.
Keyword is on time. I think it's crazy because somebody they'll change their stance all the time, and I'm like, what are you doing? And they tell me, well, I don't feel this, I don't feel that. And I was like, just get on time. And I always think about the guys that had the goofiest stances, but somehow got it done. The Julio Francos of the world. Most of our viewers probably don't know who that is, but thinking about the Craig Counsell, Hunter Pence, guys that had goofy things happening, and all of a sudden they'd get into a good hitting position. But the key always was making sure that they were on time. And if they're not on time, then bad habits get created. And, it's like all I ever tried to do was be in a good hitting position and catch barrels. And I love, that's why I wish I heard a lot more about like things Barry Bonds was doing through his time that he played. Obviously, now we see a lot more of it in some of the interviews that he talks about, like simply if a catcher can catch it, I can catch it with my barrel. And he never talked about his batting average. The only thing that he tried to do was beat one guy, and that was the pitcher.
Yep.
After that, whatever happened, happened. And if he beat the pitcher and hit a hard ground ball to the second baseman that was 95 plus or whatever the case may have been, he walked away okay with it. And I don't think we have enough of that. And I sometimes wonder, like if our kids are watching YouTube and or Instagram and they're seeing HLP and then they're going out in the backyard and trying to do that kind of stuff, it becomes very difficult because the move is, again, high level. And if you don't understand it, don't do it. If you can't go out into a wiffle ball game, I mean, how many guys you see in a wiffle ball game just kind of whipping bats and doing all this kind of stuff, and all of a sudden will swing and they make contact and they're like, whoa, I hit that ball pretty well. Well, maybe HLP is for you. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not like a guy like me, because right now, the way I swing, I am very, very direct because I am not as mobile as I had been in the past through my T-spine and stuff like that. There's a reason why you test those things, or you warm up athletes, you have them do these dumb stretches, and a half hour of hitting is not really, in my opinion, a great time to like is a setting of time. 30 minutes, I don't think is enough to do things properly. If you come in and you get ready to go before you hit, fine, so be it. But you need time to get mobile, and if you're not mobile, you can't do any of this. At least that's what
absolutely,
that's what I take from it.
I totally agree. And man, I am in a Instagram group chat with really good, not as well known online coaches, and we have these talks about. There's one guy on there that really knows Richard very well, for a long time. And, he talks about, what I take away from it is the loading process. He really likes the loading process. Now, staying on the back leg, not so much. We got to get to a good hitting position. You have to use the ground properly. Like all of these things where we can't, based on what HLP says sometimes, they're totally disregarding physics, science, biomechanics, whatever. You got to get into the ground. You got to be balanced, all of those things. But there are certain elements that are really good. The quickness, but he has said over and over, HLP is really good if you're really strong. And if you look at the guys that are doing it, like really doing it, they're all really strong to
Really
be able
big.
to hold your weight on. Yeah. Well, not even necessarily like tall, big. They're strong. They're thick guys. They're not long and lanky and whippy. They're big. They're tight. They're, kind of boxy. Everything's just happening kind of all right here. And I brought that up to one of them. I'm not going to name drop. On one of the HLP guys, I brought up motor preference. And I said, what do you do? And I wasn't trying to start anything. I was asking a legitimate question. Like, what do you do when somebody comes into your facility and their motor preferences don't match up with this? And I kid you not, his answer was, motor preference is a fad. It will go away.
I think
okay,
the term maybe.
And yeah, but looking at how people move, like you're totally disregarding how people move, and that's when it was like time out. That's enough for me. Like you can't do that as a coach. Like, just if you're, you know what I mean? And so that was a little bit of an eye opener. But
I, I like that he actually said that, because um, even the decathlete that I was talking to said motor preferences was a word that was created for baseball, and but it's been around because we've been moving for how long? You know what I mean? And so we've always
yeah,
had motor preferences. It's what your ankle does, why you walk a particular way. He literally took 10 of my athletes, had them walk. He could tell what injuries that they've had because of the way that their head tilted, the way that the shoulders tilted, and all of that stuff. And he said, he goes, all of that matters in how you teach a kid how to move. And so I think motor preferences is a word that had been created, but I don't know what the word was before that they used, 5 years
yeah,
ago. Because I feel like motor preferences kind of new, but we've always told, like, if when I grew up, a guy, we'll talk about squashing the bug, chopping, the tree down. Um, uh, negative movements away from the pitcher. And, my coaches always tell me, just don't feel like you're falling back. They just didn't know
hmm
how to explain that to me. Now science has given us some information. So I feel like motor preferences, maybe the word might change, but it's all still going to be relevant for as long as we play sports.
well,
Walk
it's
in life.
individual biomechanics.
Yeah.
It's individual biomechanics is what it is, and the kinetic chain is undefeated. And it doesn't matter what type of swing you're making or throw you're making or anything else. The kinetic chain is real. How our body sequences is real. The positions that we need to get into are individual. That's why you have some pitchers that are like, and then you have more that are, here. That's why you have guys that swing much more flat versus guys that swing much more tilted. It's like, it would be like trying to take Mike Trout and teach him Alex Bregman's swing, or vice versa.
They're probably not in
Like,
the league. Man,
yeah,
that's right.
exactly.
I love that conversation just because there's so much to this, and you literally have to evaluate the athlete for what the athlete is. And so I think it was you that said this the other day, maybe about development, when you had talked about who have you, if you're a young coach, who did you develop
Oh yeah,
at in 3 months when you've had clients for 5 and plus years. And it's like, we literally are always changing in this game because athletes are always evolving. And we've seen it through growth spurts from 9 to 11 years old, 11 to 13 high school age groups. And then they get into being 22 to 26 when the body's really starting to fill. And you've changed so much. I played adult baseball for probably 15 years, and I had actually played very heavy. I'm talking like I pushed 400 pounds and played real baseball, like guys that played like John Reinecker, former Texas Ranger. He had played in our league and played in the big leagues and stuff. And so we faced guys that played 90. Well, I didn't have a stride. I couldn't move. I was so big. The only thing I needed to do was get my barrel out front, and the baseball would go as far as it would. I couldn't use my legs. I couldn't use my lower half. None of it. I just knew the game very well. I had a really good approach, so I always come through. I felt like I was a part of the team, and we had won a bunch. We won national tournaments for men's league stuff. That I was very happy playing men's league baseball. I lost a bunch of weight. I lost like 130 something pounds, and I tried all of a sudden hitting like Josh Donaldson. I had no clue how to move. I had to retrain my body how to move because I had all this extra movement available to me that I never had before. And I literally went back to how I hit when I was a big dude. I'm still a big guy, but
yeah.
I literally went back to that. And guess what? I started hitting baseballs out again. I started hitting for a higher average. And like, to me, it's like, what is your mold? I think about guys like Brendan Donovan, and you talk about being very direct to the baseball. He's a guy that's very direct, but you always still see that elbow slot into good positions. That's why he's able to hit the way he looks. Sometimes it looks like he's swinging down and the ball gets that backspin and takes off. And it's like, he's not really swinging down. It's just where the pitch location was. Like, nobody looks at that when you're on Instagram and stuff like that. And I think social media is great, but I also think that if you're a youngster looking at it and you're a parent with a youngster, tell them to pump the brakes and find a coach. You could walk to a coach and go, "Hey, look at my phone. Can you teach me how to do that?" And run through an assessment and go, "No, you can't. You're not that athlete." And be okay with
Yeah.
that. I don't think we have that enough, being okay with.
Oh, for sure. There's not enough of that. And it's funny that you bring up that post that ruffled some feathers, but it was true. Like, if you are truly wanting to be a coach, a hitting coach, a team coach, whatever, don't post already mature athletes for your advertising. Like, you know what I mean? Like I said in my post, like literally, it's not about your coaching knowledge. You may be 22 years old and a freaking guru, knowledgeable, but you haven't been around long enough to truly develop a number of hitters for different things. Okay. Now, if you come straight out of college and your college hires you and they say, "Hey, I want you to be, our grad assistant hitting coach," dude, post all the college players you want. That's your college program. That's your job.
Yeah.
But I don't try to be a hitting coach trying to build clientele when you're doing lessons online and be like, "Oh, the D1 player I work with." Oh, you mean the D1 player that just walked in your facility today because it's cool? Like, that's what you mean. It's not the D1 player that you have worked with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's the
So,
same age
yeah,
as you.
yeah, no doubt. So, yeah, yeah, that's where that came from. And people at this point, they're like, "Oh, you're the grumpy old man on the porch," and no, I'm the guy that's been in this a long time, and the guy that has coached and taught elementary PE and coached high school baseball and coached travel ball from 13 to 18-year olds and done 120 hours of lessons for the last a month for the last 14 years. So I do know what I'm talking about. I've seen a lot. I've seen it all. I've seen fake people. I've seen real people. I've seen all the methods. I've seen all the gadgets. I've seen everything that's come to this space. And these are my honest thoughts on it. Like it or not. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and that should be okay. I think Brian and I talk about this all the time. People don't know how to communicate and have conversations with different opinions. Because I think if somebody was to respond to that with just a different why, you might be able to look at that and go, "You know what, they got a point." And there's times where, like, I'm not big into the sliding mitts, and I don't like them in the back pocket things. And I'm starting to get kind of used to today's, like, athlete, if you will. And for the longest time, there's like, "You're just that grumpy old man." I go, "No, I just was brought up with a certain culture. My cleats had to be clean before every single game that we played. So if my cleats were dirty that night, and we had to play early game that morning when I was in college, I had to go in and clean my cleats. We all had shoe polish because we all wanted black cleats. And back when I played, all we had was black and white cleats. We didn't have all the other colors that they have nowadays, or even white. And our coach would only let us wear white cleats if we could run a sub 760. And so
That's awesome.
I literally had black shoe polish. I blacked my cleats out because I was the slow guy. So that's what our coach did. Now, he coached for Team USA and was a
Yeah.
part of something. And he literally said, "You representing Missouri Western, go clean and make sure your clothes are proper." And it just
Yeah.
sticks with me, right? Like the gloves on the ground in a straight line. Like, there's something about just what kind of tone that sets, the way your uniform's put on. I can't stand when my athletes walk around in flip-flops after a game. I want them in tennis shoes. I don't want them rolling an ankle because of they're in some Crocs. I don't want them untucking their jersey. Take your jersey off, and you could walk around untucked all you want. If your jersey's on, you leave it tucked in. And people just get, "Yeah, you're old." I'm like, "No, I'm structure. That's my structure. That's who I am. That's what I represent. It's okay you don't like it. I'm all right that you don't
Yeah.
like it, but you don't need to bash me about something ridiculous like that." And you know what? Like, athletes are different. there's a lot of sensitivity things today. And I think if they literally looked at what we have in social media right now, that I could be different than you, but we're both right. But it's going to
Oh,
be
for sure.
for what athlete? I cannot teach the same thing I teach with maybe a player that you might have. And I just, when we have a camp coming up, which I'm excited about. It's got you, Shane Eames. I don't know if you ever met Shane Eames. He does premier hitting development PhD. And Andrew Keck, who's a SEMO guy, Southeast Missouri, played in the Atlanta Braves organization. Those are the three coaches coming up. And all of the coaches have a little bit something different that has their own flair on things, their own niche. And you're going to get all three guys together, all kind of different, the way they go about business, but it's all going to be the same. How do I get the barrel to the baseball the quickest way possible to be on time and hit as hard as I can? And that should be okay. And they're going to learn for 3 hours. They're going to come in and they're going to learn a lot of information from Josh Cathcart down in Houston, Texas, a guy in St. Louis. And for me, it's like, take it all in, because something is going to click for you. There's a reason why I hit like Jeff Bagwell. There was a reason why I hit like Mark McGuire. There's a reason why I tried to hit like Ken Griffey Jr. from the right side. I literally had, I don't know how many different stances per week, but the one thing I always was able to do was be on time and hit the baseball on the barrel for the most part.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about it. Like with the camp coming up in particular, I just like collaborating with baseball guys and being able to get in there. And, I've done, shoot, at this point, probably 10 collaboration camps with other coaches. And not only are the players getting information, and I may say something that some kid goes, boom, that's it for me. One of the other guys may say something, boom, that's it for me. And so those players walk away with the cliche, more tools in the toolbox.
Yep.
Right. But me as a coach, I also walk away with more tools in the toolbox. I have what I do. And I have what, I was talking about that group of online coaches in our group chat, like that type of stuff. But when you are in the arena, when you're in that practice, when you're in that camp, in the moment with coaches who are grinding and looking at all of these different hitters and trying to help everybody, there have been numerous times where somebody will say something, I'll be like, whoa, timeout. I really like that. Like that sounds great. Can you really like dive into that a little bit more for me? And for the parents, it's a chance to just really hear the different type of verbiage, the different type of energy. Who is your player going to respond better to? Me being really high energy, trying to keep it super simple with thoughts, or somebody that's more like laid back, hey, why don't you just try this time, see if it works out, you know? And so when you get three of us in there together, even more so. So I'm stoked, man. I hope we fill that son of a gun up.
Well, we got spots open. We're running right now. If you go back and follow my Instagram page, it's _ MTS Performance. It's Mitch Thomas Sports Performance. It's original. I couldn't come up with anything better than that, because there's only a few words that rhyme with Mitch that I can't say on air. So,
True.
But what I got on there is it's a like, follow, tag a couple buddies in the comments, and we got $75 off the camp. And right now the camp is set at $200, 3 hours long. And you can get this camp for basically $125. We have baseball and softball, so we'll have both sports in there. And then if we fill that up, we'll end up doing a second session afterwards. I think the biggest thing is taking advantage of this opportunity. For $125, you have a chance to hit with coaches for 2+ hours. Warm up time is included in there. Maybe a little, I like to do trivia because that's how I'll start it. And we'll bring up some Houston stuff so you can answer for your guys. But at the end of the day, like, where else are you going to get 3 hours of opportunity to work with the coaches that we're bringing in? And if you don't know who these guys are, that's why I tagged you guys, is to go follow you so that you can learn what Josh brings to the table, because I'm telling you, you're going to like what he does, especially from kind of our area in St. Charles County. There's a lot of like-minded individuals, and I think your kids are going to have a blast showing up. We do have a variety of ages, of course. It's 12 all the way up. And we'll pair them accordingly. We're not going to put a 12-year-old with an 18-year-old because of just the things we just talked about, movement patterns and things like that. That's ridiculous. However, you might learn something, because there could be a kid in there that might be pretty darn good, and you're going to hear some loud barrels, and you're going to go, "Who's that guy?" And I think that's what's cool about hitting camps at different age groups, is that there might be somebody in there that might wow somebody and create a fan. And I want that out of this experience, because, again, I've been following you since pre-COVID, so 2019-ish, maybe 2018. I have nonstop followed your page and everywhere you've gone, just because of how you think about hitting. So obviously it's easy when you're like-minded. But
Yeah.
again, the camp, I can't talk enough about it. I guess I can, but or have to. I
Yeah.
can't wait to get you up here, Josh. I think it's going to be a blast. I think you'll like. Have you been to St. Louis?
I've never been, man. Not even stopped by. Like, I've been in the airport, like catching another flight, but I have never been in St. Louis.
Yeah, it's a special city for baseball. Obviously, the Cardinals brand.
Yeah.
Albert Pujols very well. The Brad Litch homer probably still haunts you
Yeah.
guys. I guess
Why you gotta bring it up, dude? Why bring it up?
well, what's worse? Well, you guys went on and still won the series, so I don't think it mattered, right? Yeah, you guys still won the
I don't
series.
know. I mean, we won the series, but goodness gracious, that ball hadn't landed yet. That was the
Oh.
first ball in Minute Maid that I remember, like, vividly. Like, I was old enough to really remember that when he hit it, I was like, bro, that's gonna land like in the apartments behind the field. Like, it was just an absolute moonshot.
All right, so that home run, or Bregman coming back home and hitting one his first AB, when he came back
Which
to
was
Houston.
harder?
Yeah, for you to
Like,
deal
harder
with.
on me?
Yeah,
Oh, for sure, the pool holes one.
just because it's the playoffs.
Just because it's the playoffs, and it was just so majestic, and Brad Lidge was throwing 100
Yeah.
and everything else. See, Alex Bregman is probably a top 5 player for me. Like, as an adult, like, I could care less. Like, I understand that baseball's a business. I was mad at him. I thought that it was a little ridiculous, like, the way that he went about it, and what the Astros offered him. But dude, go make your money, right? But it doesn't bother me to my core when guys get traded and do that. It was Albert Pujols hitting that bomb off Lidge was like a knife to the heart. Alex Bregman hitting one in his first at bat back was like, hell yeah, dude, that's awesome. So
That,
it was two totally different emotions.
I can buy that, because I had the same feelings for Albert when Albert left to go to Los Angeles. I was bummed at the Cardinals for not making that deal, but that would have handcuffed the Cardinals, and they still went on to win ball games in 2013, 2015. But anywho, the when he came back and hit his first home run at Busch Stadium, I could have cried, just because it was just.
Yeah.
I actually had the luxury of playing against him when we were in high school, and then college ball, because when you're in their fall baseball stuff, you go play your junior colleges in the area, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
little jamboree things. He hit a baseball with an aluminum bat, and I go, that's a grown man playing against 18, 19, 20-year-olds. I'm like, that dude's another level.
Yeah.
And to be crazy, he's just a 13th round pick, coming out of Maplewood. He hit a ball off of a tree, and I watched the tree blow up at like 400 feet away. It just hit the tree on a line and just blow up, and you can see bark flying everywhere. And you're like, how do you not pitch this guy? He hit a ball off the ground this tall. He hit a ball that, at his neck. And it's like, okay, just walk them. You know, in college got the
Yeah.
Barry Bonds treatment with the bases loaded kind of deal. And very special 10 years that he had here in St. Louis. And I don't know if there's been a better 10 years in baseball with all the great hitters out there. I don't know if there's been another one. Frank Thomas kind of brings the closest to me with kind of the 100 runs, 100 RBIs, you know, 3-something batting average, 30 homer club. You know, he had 9 years of that. That's insane.
Yeah. Mike Trout would have been there if he would have stayed healthy, man.
Dude, have you
Like Mike Trout did.
he
Go ahead.
I feel bad for Mike Trout. I feel bad for that young man. He's making his money, so maybe not so bad. But
Yeah.
did you see the comparison against him and Salvador Perez, that just posted like maybe 2 days ago? It's been surfing around the internet. So they were both made their major league debuts in 2011, and they are so very close in stats because Mike Trout's been so
Like the
injured.
injuries.
And I wonder if he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
I actually posed that question on my Instagram. I said, is Mike Trout a first ballot Hall of Famer? And there was absolutely like, how are you so stupid? Why would you ask that question? And at that point, people didn't know that Mike Trout is my favorite player. As an adult, Mike Trout is my favorite player. And then you had the people who were like, oh, the 3 MVPs and he would have won 5 and, you know, all of this stuff. Like he's already, you know, 1,000 RBIs, you know, 400 home runs. Like, of course he is. If somebody somebody said, you have to give me a definitive answer right now, I think my answer would have to be yes. But I had some guys that, you know, were baseball guys that got on and like broke it down. And it was like, you know, maybe the injuries did derail him that much. Like, it's going to be close, man. If he could have 3 more years of like 20 plus bombs, you know, 60 RBIs, you know, hit anywhere close to like 70 runs, like anything like that, then I think yes. If he were to shut it down next year and say my body can't do this anymore, I'm done, it would be dicey.
I sometimes wonder if a guy, because you know when you think about Salvi Perez, I look at him and go, I think Salvi might be a Hall of Famer, but I don't know if he's a first ballot guy. I think what he's done in Kansas City has been absolutely amazing for a catcher. You know, he 40-something homers, whatever it was that he hit. He might have done some of that, most of that as a DH, but to see kind of his career and go, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. And I look at Trout and I go, I have this hard time. I think I want to debate it against myself and saying no, maybe to be a rebel. But I'm like, what didn't he not do when he played the game of baseball? And you're looking at guys that only have 6, 7 years, 8 years in the big leagues that have very similar numbers that made it into the Hall of Fame. And you see guys like there's a lot of comparisons that you'll see, like, you know, the baseball reference stuff that they do. Somebody will post like,
oh yeah,
you know, Kershaw versus this guy or whatever, you know, Doc Gooden versus Adam Wainwright. Shockingly, Adam Wainwright has some better numbers, like more, if you look at the stats that they use, better numbers than Doc Gooden. But I don't think Adam Wainwright's a Hall of Famer necessarily. Maybe veteran committee because of what he did for baseball and how he worked through things. You know, it's like the LeBron James, Michael Jordan stuff. There, you know, you can't use counting stats. You know, there's so many different metrics that if you compared you and you can't do this obviously, but I don't look at counting stats as identifying that he is the greatest of all time. I still think Michael Jordan is that guy, but somebody that's 60 years old is going to tell me it could have been Wilt Chamberlain or Elgin Baylor or somebody like that. And I'm like, you know what? Really, he's just the greatest in the moment. You know, and that's exactly what our games. I do have one more question. I'm going to let you get on with your day because I know you're going to be busy.
Okay.
And this one's been bothering me lately because I have a club team and I've been hearing a lot of, I'm going to go play baseball with my friends. And these are very competitive athletes wanting to play at the next level, college. So some of them need to go to high school first, but most of it's the college dream, right? I think that that's a crock. I think that if you're a competitive player and you are looking to play at the collegiate level, which, by the way, you play with people you don't know who probably aren't your friends who will become those, you need to play in the best situation you can possible. How do you feel about players kind of giving you that excuse or that reasoning? I shouldn't say excuse, but that reasoning on, I want to play baseball with my friends.
Uh, for me, man, it's when we're talking about teenagers, and I'm going to talk specifically boys. I've never coached travel softball. But like I said earlier, I did 9 years of high school, and then I did 8 years of 13 to 18-year-old travel. And for 5 of those years of travel, I had nationally competitive 16, 17, 18U teams. So with that in mind and kind of that thought process, I would have to know what age we're talking when they give me that excuse. If you are talking about a 13-year-old that says, I want to play college baseball, but I also want to play with my friends, then the conversation is a little bit different. It's, all right, man, I get down with that. You're 13. You don't have to make any like final decisions right now. But if you truly want to play college baseball within the next 1 to 2 years, you need to really commit to everything, to your nutrition, to your sleep, to your work, and who you are around. Because players that truly want to get to the next level out of high school, their mindset and the way they go about their business is different than even serious high school players. You can be a serious high school player and not care about going to college, but you can't be I have a college dream player and act like a regular high school kid. So that would be the conversation with that. I have had, when I was coaching travel, I have had players who have been on highly competitive, whether it be my team with people they didn't know or other teams. And when they got to be a junior in high school, they said, I've been doing this. I've been traveling. I've been working. I just want to have fun for a summer. I want to play with my friends. And to that, okay, man, let's weigh the pros and cons. Like, I get it. You've put in 5 years, 6 years of traveling and playing on top level teams and everything. And you want to go play with your friends right now? That's fine, but your timing sucks. Like, this is not the time to go do that, you know? And then you have the ones that I want to go play with my friends, but my friends are on a high level team. And in the Houston area, that happens a lot where your friends have spread out when you were younger because of where you live or whatever. You've made these friends through baseball. And now when you're 17, all of you say, hey, we want to go play for the 17U Banditos. We want to go play for the 17U Texas 12. Coach, we love you. Thank you for all your time at hardball. But I want to go play with my buddies, and this is where they're all going. And all those buddies happen to be serious baseball players that want to go play in college. So there's different levels to that. But if we're talking just strictly play at the highest level of competition to prepare yourself for college, going to play with your buddies is not where you want to be. Does that make sense? Like that doesn't mesh.
I like how you kind of portrayed that as in kind of three different areas, like the youth side and what it sounds like to me, it's like the 15U level is where you really start having those conversations because 13U, there's nothing to worry about. 15U, things are starting to become real. It also is when life starts to change because you're going to drive soon, girlfriends, things like that. All that stuff starts to change. So I could see how motivation, like maybe not so focused on that on the high level 13 or 14U side, because what really is high level that young? I know that there's obviously good players. That's not what I'm saying, but
yeah,
what are you playing for? It's just you're getting prepared for high school baseball. I like how you broke that down because I do have a team like that this year. We're going to play 18U team. All we're doing is going to have fun. I literally have kids from all over coming because they don't want the stress of it. We're not going to college. And so those are the things that where I think that plays. I just get to the point where it's like, okay, you're going to spend $4,000 and you're not going to compete. You're not going to push yourself because you want to go play with your buddies. Why spend the money when the ROI is not going to be there? It's already not there in club sports because of how colleges, used to give scholarships. And so, for me, why spend 10 grand a summer when you could spend that much more wisely, training, getting bigger, faster, stronger, diet, nutrition, working with you, instead of playing all over the country. I know that stuff's fun. And some of us have to maybe play 4 or 5 big events. It's shocking how much it costs to do business. And I'm part of it, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm part of this on all facets, the training side, the development side, team side, tournament side, all of it. So it's very interesting to me. I like the way that you kind of brought that. There's kind of different variables. We're actually going through that in St. Louis with our high school side. There's a lot of youth programs, but the high school side, it gets much, much smaller. And teams are going to play for certain organizations that can get them the opportunities that they need, whether it's getting to college, things like that. So we actually have something similar happening to us here in St. Louis.
I didn't even really think about or bring up the money aspect of it. If you're going to go and you're going to play on a team that is traveling the nation and you're going to the big events, then playing with your friends shouldn't be part of the deal. Now, like I said, if all of your friends are going to play on a high level team, absolutely. But if you're just going to get on a team with your buddies and there's a dad coaching and you're just doing it to play with your buddies and y'all are going to the biggest tournaments in the country just basically for vacations, then you got more money than sense. Right.
It's an interesting day and age for athletics, especially baseball. I know it's like this in other sports. I'm just not in other sports, so I'm only talking about baseball and softball. Josh, it's a pleasure being able to bring you on the show. September 13th at the Hitting Zone. It's a 9 a.m. check-in, 9:30 start. We'll get you stretched out. We'll do a little trivia, get you stretched. Then we will start teaching you young people how to barrel more baseballs, because that's all I can promise is how to get the barrel to the ball. And good things happen when I guess the law of averages is on your side if you can catch barrels more often than handles and, off the end of the bat. So, Josh, I know that I told you that we have your Instagram shared on one of my posts. I just made it maybe yesterday, this morning. How can people follow you on Instagram?
So Instagram, it's across all platforms. Nothing changes. My logo's down there on the bottom, the HDR. Instagram is Hitting Done Right. My YouTube channel is at 80,000 subscribers right now. Trying to get to 100 there. It's Hitting Done Right. Facebook, 90,000 followers. It's Hitting Done Right. And if you're a TikTok person, TikTok is my smallest platform. It's about 68,000 followers right now. So you can hit me up on any of those. Also, my website is www.hittingdoneright.com, and that is where you can purchase online analysis and customized practice plans.
Let's go. I think I follow you on everything. I think I've had conversations with you literally on every single platform
On
you have.
everything?
Maybe not TikTok. I'm not on TikTok so much. I only have like 200. But folks, there's a reason why the guy's got almost 100,000 followers on certain platforms and over 100, almost 200,000 probably on all of his platforms. He obviously knows what he's talking about. September 13th, 9 a.m. check-in. You got to go online and register first, though. If you want Josh to get to St. Louis, I need information to tell him so he can get on a flight to get up here. I need about 10 days notice. So if you don't have by September 3rd, if we don't have good numbers, I'm not bringing him up here. If you've already paid, we'll work with what we got with the coaches we have here. We'll work on something down the road because I got to get Josh to St. Louis. He is a heck of a coach. So thank you, sir, for jumping on this show with me today and talking baseball. You were one of my first guests on my Hitting Zone podcast, so it's nice to have you back. I think that's been about a year and some change now, I think.
Yeah.
Close to that, maybe. I'd love to have you on again, obviously for the personality, but I think more than anything, the honesty. So
awesome, man.
What I need you guys to do, though, is go to Youth Baseball Midwest. If you want to check out episodes like this, you need to make sure you're already at Youth Baseball Midwest. But I need you to go hit the notifications. I need you to hit the dinger, do all of those things on the YouTube channel so you can get information like this, see podcasts like this, see all the fun stuff we have coming up, and all the socials that Youth Baseball Midwest has. Of course, follow me because you'll get some opinions. I have no problems sharing.
The opinions are good.
Yeah, I have no problem sharing them. One of my favorite posts was telling parents to, why are you playing travel ball when you got a little league mentality? And that went over very well. I had a lot of people get some hate for it, but why are you invested into this thing when the return is not there? And it drives me bonkers. Well, my kid gets an experience. You know what? Then let me coach. Don't scream at me for every little thing. Don't scream at your kid for every little thing. That's probably a whole nother conversation to have, which I'd love to have with you. I want to have that with you. So maybe after this, right before you come up, maybe we do it the week before you come up. But I appreciate it. And
absolutely, man.
Everybody out there, swing hard, Casey, hit it.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah. Swing hard, Casey, hit it. Close your eyes, too, if you need to. I've hit a few home runs with my eyes closed. Josh, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Y'all be good.
Yeah.